It's my great pleasure as Chair of the Board of Governors to welcome you all to this special prize-giving event, which this year coincides with the end of term and the beginning of the Christmas holiday. Normally, we gather together for our traditional Speech Day celebrations in the grandeur of Liverpool's Philharmonic Hall, but as with so much else, this year is different. So for the first time, prize-giving is taking place remotely, which I hope means that more members of our wider school community will be able to watch it online and join in celebrating the achievements of those who have won awards. It also gives me a unique opportunity to speak to everyone who is involved with each of our three schools and to say thank you on behalf of the Board of Governors for everything you've done during what has proved to be a most challenging year. But first of all, let me congratulate everybody who has won a prize or has received an award. I never won a prize when I was at school, so I'm actually rather jealous. And I warmly applaud your outstanding achievement, whether that is in your academic studies, or by your involvement in sports, or music, or drama, or with the CCF, or through the very many other ways in which each of you has contributed so magnificently to the life of our schools. Well done, and congratulations on receiving your award. I hope you feel justifiably proud of what you have achieved. Next, as I've said, I want to express my sincere thanks and those of the entire Board of Governors to everyone who has worked so hard and so diligently to ensure that our schools have not only continued to function since we went into lockdown in March, but have been able to flourish and prosper in the face of enormously challenging circumstances. Our primary objective at Merchant Taylors is, and always must be, to ensure that every one of our pupils receives the best possible and most rewarding education that we can provide. It's not to overstate matters to say that when we went into lockdown early this year, day-to-day life as we knew and expected it to be in our schools was turned upside down at very short notice and with no idea of how long the disruption would continue. The way in which everyone involved has responded has been remarkable. First and foremost, I want to pay tribute to our amazing pupils. From our youngest boys and girls who started at the newly amalgamated Stanfield in the summer, to our young adults in the upper sixth who have completed or are about to sit their A-levels at our senior schools, and of course to everyone in between. The way in which each of you has responded to the challenges you have faced and has adapted to the changes in the way in which your education has been delivered has been simply amazing. It was very strange for me to walk around empty school buildings when you were all required to stay at home, but it was wonderful to see and hear the buzz of excitement when you were all back in school after the summer holiday. Your resilience and ability to bounce back has been truly remarkable. And that brings me to our parents and guardians and the families of all our children. Thank you for your support, your generosity, on occasion your patience and forbearance, and for the trust you continue to place in Merchant Taylors by allowing us to educate your children. None of us, I imagine, has previously experienced the sort of challenges with which you had to cope over the last 9 months. Hopefully, we will be able to return to something approaching normality within the foreseeable future, and thank heavens for that. Next, I want to say a huge thank you to all of our staff, to each of our head teachers and their senior management teams, to every member of our excellent teaching staff, to our Director of Finance and Operations, and to every member of our professional services and support staff. Without your hard work and loyalty and commitment, our schools simply would not continue to operate. On behalf of the Board of Governors, I wish to state publicly how much your contribution is appreciated. Sadly, there are far too many names for me to mention of all those who have left the school over the last year, whether because of retirement or voluntary redundancy or simply to go elsewhere. I am very grateful to you all. One of the most remarkable features is for how many years some of you have worked at the school. I hope and believe that speaks loudly of the sense of community that exists at Merchant Taylors. Of course, times change, and we must all change and adapt with them. But since I have assumed responsibility as Chair of the Board of Governors, I've been particularly impressed and reassured by the fact that every member of our staff shares and embraces the same common objective to which I referred a few minutes ago, to ensure in their different ways and in their different roles that every one of our pupils receives the best possible and most rewarding education that we can deliver. Finally, I want to pay tribute to my predecessor as Chair of the Board of Governors, Mrs. Beverly Bell. Many of you will know just how hard she worked, both for and behalf of the school, for a number of years. Initially as a governor and then as Chair of the Board of Governors, much of what Beverly did went unnoticed and sometimes unacknowledged and often entirely unappreciated. But we do owe her a huge debt of gratitude for everything she did for the school. Thank you, Beverly. We are very grateful. Two of our other governors, Mr. John Cartwright and Dr. Jenny Fox, have recently or are about to step down from the board after a number of years of loyal service. I am equally grateful to both of them for all that they have done for the school. We now have 4 new governors, Professor Joe Howe, Mr. Simon Fowler and Mr. Chris Green, each of whom is a parent or guardian of a pupil at one of our schools, and also Mr. Stephen Gregory. Each of them brings considerable expertise and obvious enthusiasm to complement and further rejuvenate the Board of Governors, which is currently undergoing a major review of what we do and how we operate, to assist us to formulate ambitious and transparent goals and objectives for our schools, and to enable us to provide consistent and appropriate support for our executive management team. There is much that we have planned together, and I shall look forward to consulting with you and sharing those plans over the coming year. Although many of the events planned to mark our 400th anniversary had to be put on hold during 2020, we remain optimistic that they will take place in 2021, by which time, hopefully, we shall all be able to meet up again in person to celebrate everything that is excellent about Merchant Taylors' School. So I conclude with my sincere congratulations again to all those whose achievements we are celebrating today. However you choose to celebrate the holiday ahead, on behalf of the Board of Governors, I wish you all a very joyous and peaceful and hopefully a restful time. Thank you.
Feigning joy and surprise at the gifts we despise over mulled wine with you. On the 25th day of the 12th month, the sleigh bells are in time, ringing true. How we cling each Noel to that snowflake's hope in hell that it won't end. Don't let the bells end. Christmas time, just let them ring in peace. Well, the weather is cruel, and the season of Yule warms the heart, but it still hurts. You've got your career, spent the best part of last year apart, and it still hurts. So that's why I pray each and every Christmas day that it won't end. Don't let the bells end. Christmas time, just let them ring in peace. Just underneath the mistletoe leaves when you're not here. You went away upon Boxing Day. Now how the hell am I gonna make it into the new year? time, don't let the bells end. Christmas time, don't let the bells end.
Ladies and gentlemen, young and old, welcome to Prize Giving 2020. When we began this year, we expected it to be something extraordinary, celebrating as we'd intended the 400th anniversary of our foundation. We intended to have had prize giving in a summer term, a change from previous years, but something that would have worked well with the other events we had planned. Things seemed to be progressing as usual. We'd enjoyed the Crosbean dinner in February, and then a special 400th celebration dinner in London at the Merchant Taylors' Hall. Further events were planned: a service at Liverpool Cathedral, a summer ball, and a celebration weekend. And then our normal pattern of life changed enormously. That change meant the postponement of many of those events, including prize giving, as well as affecting, to a greater or lesser extent, every single one of us. We have all had a different experience over the last 9 months, and we have learnt a great deal about ourselves and about the people around us. That is something on which we will focus in the coming minutes, and you will hear from our 2 senior prefects about what they have learned. But before that, I wanted to pay a public tribute to the staff at Merchant Taylors, who have enabled so much to be achieved over the last 9 months. Each and every one of them has played an important role at the school. For teachers, it was the amazing feat of transferring a lifetime of teaching in the classroom onto an online platform, of learning in a short space of time about different software packages, which at the time were brand new, but now seem like old hat, and of adjusting to the different demands that a return to school in September has placed on everyone. For the support staff, it included the considerable feat of making the school COVID ready for a return in September, of early starts and late finishes as we have had to adjust to the latest guidance and updates from the government, sometimes at very short notice. It has involved everyone pulling together and working for the benefit of the boys, and I am enormously proud of what they have achieved and grateful to them for what they have done. I'd also like to thank parents who have been so supportive and understanding of everything that has had to happen over recent months. I've spoken to colleagues at other schools, and that has reinforced to me how well supported we are here at Merchants. But I also want to pay particular tribute to the boys themselves. We speak of values at Merchants, of ambition, character, and excellence. Clearly, we will see many examples of the last of these values here today as they receive prizes for their efforts and achievements. But for those of us that work in school, we get to see examples of excellence every day. Excellence is not simply about achieving, it is about a desire to do things the right way. We encourage the boys to be ambitious in what they want to achieve. We are ambitious for them, but at the same time, we want to encourage them to be ambitious about the way that they go about things, about the process. If you do things the right way, you may well not end up necessarily where you intended, but you will certainly have travelled far. Ambition and excellence combined are a potent combination. But it is the third of the Trinity which is perhaps the most important, as without it, the others would never be realised. Therefore, what we wish to focus on more than anything else today is character. The boys have had to show that in abundance this year, and I have been so impressed with them. They have been resilient in the face of adversity, adaptable to changing circumstances, dedicated to making the best of a bad situation, and yet honest with themselves about how they are feeling and doing. For many, they have learnt to become more independent, more organised, to cooperate in different ways, and to communicate effectively to different audiences. They have learnt lessons in a short space of time which will stand them well for the rest of their lives. And I am incredibly proud of them. But rather than simply hear me talk, far better for you to hear from boys themselves. And so I wish to hand over to Ed and to Marcus.
Although lockdown has undoubtedly been an extremely tough time for everyone, there has been a silver lining seen through the way the boys here at Merchants have responded to it and the qualities they've shown throughout it. Marcus and I are each going to discuss two characteristics that we feel have particularly shone out over the course of the past year. Of all the qualities displayed by the boys at Merchants, the one that I found most apparent was independence. Lockdown completely changed our experience of school life, shifting lessons from the classroom to Microsoft Teams. It put the onus on us to take responsibility for each and every aspect of it, whether getting up early for registration in the morning or making sure we completed our schoolwork without a teacher standing over us. When set independent work, we had to manage our own time and meet the required deadlines. Every element of remote learning demanded a great deal of independence from students. Independence is an admirable quality. It means you can think for yourself, make decisions for yourself, and lead your own life. It's a valuable skill, useful in all circumstances, as you move up the school and in the career you pursue beyond it. It is a trait that not everyone possesses, yet one that the boys at Merchants have displayed in abundance. This is something that you should all be especially proud of. Another quality that has particularly stood out to me is reliability. The boys here at Merchants have not only utilised their independence and self-discipline, but have done so with success throughout the several months of online learning. This is all thanks to their reliability, which has manifested itself in various forms, making sure work is consistently completed to a good standard, success in the end-of-year exams, and keeping pace with the content being covered in lessons in very challenging circumstances. Of course, this was made easier by the constant support of teachers, which we should all be extremely grateful for, but it still required a lot of effort from students to maintain their work ethic and ambition over such an extended period of time. Independence and reliability are both extremely praiseworthy characteristics, which you have all demonstrated you possess in abundance, and they are qualities that you should wear as a badge of honour.
Over the past year, school life has changed dramatically across not only the country, but all over the world. Classes have moved from in-person to online and back to in-person again, and the whole dynamic of school has been altered. One thing is clear, however, coming from these turbulent times, and that is this: the perseverance and adaptability of the boys of merchant tailors. What does it mean to persevere? Perhaps to continue with something to the bitter end, or to go on with something that seems desperate, even impossible. I'm not sure such a simple dictionary definition can suffice, as in order to quantify such an integral characteristic, you must undergo self-reflection. Have I persevered? Through all the hardships that this school year and surrounding factors have had, did you push forward no matter what? Can you truly say that you have persevered? For the students of this school, there is a clear answer to this. Yes, you have. In the face of the adversity of a global pandemic, the boys of this school have been inspired to maintain their efforts despite a change of scenery. In fact, they've exceeded beyond all the boundaries that ought to be in place in such a difficult situation. Similarly, I believe that the adaptability of the students at this school is unquestionable. While we all know that such a sudden switch to online learning was difficult at first, the boys not only adapted, but thrived in their new environment. Whether this was at GCSE or A-level or lower down the school, the boys have been able to adapt to all incoming circumstances and acted throughout with a calm demeanour and adjusted quickly with ease. Of course, a huge amount of praise must go to the staff of merchants, who throughout the pandemic have remained steadfast and available to the boys no matter what, and have been a key resource and reason as to why the pupils of Merchant Taylors Boys' School have the success that they can lay claim to in these testing times. With this year being the school's 400th year anniversary, the boys have truly exemplified the ambition, character, and excellence of a merchant's man.
As a school, we have had to become more adaptable this year, embracing new technology to help us deliver what we want. However, at the heart of everything we do are people. No matter how much technology we use, it's people that matter most. 2020 has reinforced that so clearly to us. The joy that individuals felt at coming back to the school site, if only for a few hours in the summer term, was tangible. This term, too, has reinforced to us how much we enjoy seeing people in person, and at school in particular. Our guest speaker today, I am sure, will be able to give us an abundance of examples about why character matters. Despite working in a world where much of the technology is cutting edge, at the heart of everything are people, and people working as part of a team. We are delighted that we can be joined today by General Paul Nansen. Paul first put a uniform on when he was a cadet in the CCF here at Merchants. We had hoped that his last day in uniform would have been with us this summer as a fitting bookend to his distinguished career. We were foiled in that attempt, but remain delighted that he can be with us today. Paul has had an impressive career in the Army, being awarded a CBE for distinguished service in Afghanistan and being appointed a Companion of the Order of Bath in this year's New Year's Honours list. Paul has been Commandant at Sandhurst and retired from the post as General Officer commanding Recruiting and Initial Training Command this summer. Paul, it is a privilege to be able to introduce you today.
Thank you, Headmaster, and thank you all for giving me the opportunity to speak to you on this very special day. It's not the day any of us expected. I'd rather imagined a trip down memory lane to the Liverpool Philharmonic Hall, but alas, that was not meant to be. Challenging times call for finding different ways, and I'm delighted the school has, as ever, found a way of doing this today. Challenging times, I find, always bring out the best in organisations and in people. And if my time in the Army taught me anything, it was how to thrive in challenging times, in volatile, uncertain and chaotic environments. And I have been blessed with serving alongside some amazing people who have really stood tall in tough times and have been the example to me and to those around them. And I have had the privilege of being part of some incredible teams that somehow have managed to stick together and succeed in adversity, who have, no matter what the task, given their best, seizing opportunities when they present and bouncing back stronger from setbacks along the way. My last job in the Army was at the Royal Military Academy at Sandhurst, a place where we develop young men and women to be officers in the Army. During their time with us, we try to set them for success in whatever comes next. The what next is quite difficult to quantify, but we know it'll be a journey of adventure and challenge, and our job is therefore to prepare them for the latter, whilst encouraging them to seize every opportunity to experience the former. In terms of developing them, we focus on many things over the 44 weeks they are with us. But if I was to boil it down to 3 essential ingredients, it would be the 3 C's. And it is those that I will share with you today as you look forward to your own journeys ahead. But first, if I may, a quick story by way of context. Not long after I finished my own training at Sandhurst, I went to war for the first time. I was then a platoon commander responsible for 24 men, and it was all men in those days. During one advance, we became disorientated because of a fierce sandstorm that descended upon us from nowhere. And when it cleared, we discovered that we were smack bang in the middle of the enemy position we'd been planning to attack. As you can imagine, chaos reigned as both sides tried to work out what to do. Unfortunately for us, the enemy responded faster and we were in trouble. My friend Guy, a fellow platoon commander, decided he needed to act if he was to rescue the situation. And despite the enemy fire, he climbed out on top of his armoured vehicle, ran around to the back, opened the door, and said to his men, "Follow me." And they did. Despite the danger, they got out and they followed him into the attack. Soon the rest of his platoon followed, and together they went on to clear the bunkers. And because of Guy and his platoon, our momentum was restored, and we eventually achieved what we had to do that day. Now, the moral of this tale is that Guy had not only faced his own challenge, but he had inspired his people to face theirs, the unknown, the uncertain, and in their specific situation, danger. So back to the 3 C's. And the first C is courage. Courage is, I believe, the most important of our core values. And of course, you would expect me to talk of physical courage, that ability to stand up and be counted when you're scared, tired, cold, and hungry. And as a leader, it is that courage to stand up and face danger and say, "Follow me," as Guy did that day. But courage goes further. Moral courage is as important a quality. Moral courage demands that you always try your best to do what is right and not what is easy. As we say, it's about doing the right thing on a difficult day when no one is watching you. And people will be inspired by you if you set the standard for yourself and for your team, and then have the courage to not accept second best. Now, the second C is competence. And competence is about what you know. It's about being good at your job. It's about knowing your stuff. And being competent at your trade inspires confidence in those around you. Guy was a good platoon commander, and his men knew that he understood the tactics necessary to enable them to win. Competence comes from training, education, and experience, and you have all been blessed with a fantastic education that will undoubtedly give you the tools to build your future. But it is just the foundation, and you will all go on to university or into a job where you will continue to learn and gain that valuable experience. And continue you must, as the environment changes around us, and we are increasingly faced with complex challenges. That next challenge demands we keep upskilling and developing ourselves and our people if we are to keep up, stay current, and remain relevant. So my advice to you all is to seize every opportunity as you travel on your journey to be a better you. And the final C, the third C, is, I believe, the most important, and that's character. Now, your character is all about who you are and what it is that you stand for. It's about having standards and values that you believe in and live by. It's about being true to yourself and setting the examples for others to follow. It's about creating those bonds of trust with those around you. Now, going back to the example of Guy in the desert, you might well say that those men followed him that morning because of duty or a sense of pride in their team, or because he was the officer and had the authority. But I would say they followed him into danger primarily because they had previously discovered his character. They believed in him, liked him, and trusted him. Now, I'm certainly not going to give you a lesson in character development. You have all had your characters forged and developed by different experiences, your family, the school, sports, holidays, whatever it may be. My only piece of advice to you is, rather like competence, continue to develop your character. And maybe as a test for yourself, think about the soldiers sitting in the back of that vehicle in the desert that morning with bullets pinging off the side of their vehicle, and try and be the person you would want to follow. This has been a big year for all of us in so many ways. For me, it saw the end of my journey in uniform, a uniform I first put on as a cadet in the CCF at Merchant Taylors back in 1978. So it's a genuine privilege to return, albeit virtually, to wish you well as you set out on your own journeys. They are journeys that I definitely envy you, and despite the challenges that undoubtedly lie ahead, I know you'll have a fantastic time. My advice is to remember the 3 C's: courage, competence, and character. And as I mentioned earlier, take confidence in the fact that you are well set for success. And whilst that is ultimately down to you, I might on your behalf and my own, as I never had the opportunity before, pay tribute and say thank you to the teachers and indeed your parents who have helped prepare you for the adventures ahead. Make the most of it. And I wish you all Godspeed and safe travels.
It is my privilege to deliver the vote of thanks on this unique speech day. On behalf of the whole school, I would like to thank Major General Nansen for his inspirational speech and the wisdom that he has shared with us all today. It was particularly interesting to hear about how our very own Combined Cadet Force led you on to such a successful and rewarding career in the military. And in a year like this one, I'm sure that we'll all be trying to implement the 3 C's, courage, competence and character, into our lives in order to overcome the challenges that we may face. Whilst writing this speech, I thought back to my memories here at Merchants and all the lessons that I've learnt. Every year, I've seen a change in my school life, be it new friends, new teachers, new subjects. However, I think it's fair to say that my last year here at Merchant Taylors is substantially different from the rest. Obviously, 2020, our 400th anniversary, has been like no other year the school has ever seen and has brought with it many challenges. However, as you, Major General Nansen, mentioned in your speech, challenging times bring out the best in people, and I believe this is very evident within this school. With a community as strong as we have here at Merchants, we've had no problem adapting to the new environment and way of learning. This resilient nature was rewarded with a smooth transition at the start of term, with all our pupils returning to the school site and lessons taking place in classrooms again. Not only this, but we have also seen the return of training sessions for all our school sports teams, with hope of fielding some competitive fixtures later on in this school year. Something that I'm particularly looking forward to. I cannot wait to put on the black and gold jersey and represent the school again in front of the clock tower in my final year. All this comes back to the idea of being adaptable, which was mentioned by Marcus earlier. If this year has taught us anything, it is that life doesn't always go as planned, and that's okay. But you have 2 options. You can sit around all day and moan about it and let the circumstances get the better of you, or you can continue to better yourself by seizing every opportunity that comes your way, no matter how daunting it may seem at the time. My main piece of advice that I've learned from my time here at Merchants, and that can be applied to any aspect of life, whether it be in an exam or in the middle of a rugby game, is to control the controllables. There are a lot of things in life that we can control, such as being well prepared or giving 100% at every opportunity. So we are far better off focusing on these things rather than focusing on the things that we have no control over. So, I urge everyone listening today, no matter what year you're in, to take advantage of the opportunities you have available to you here at Merchants. Say yes more than you say no. This school offers such a wide range of activities, and when you join the school, you won't know what you like or what you're good at unless you give it a try. This will not only push you out of your comfort zone, but you will also learn new skills and pick up little bits of knowledge from all the activities, which will be an enormous help to you as you grow up. Not to mention all the friends that you'll make along the way. And lastly, I'd say whatever you find yourself doing here at Merchants, give it your all, because you don't want to have any regrets when you look back at your time here at Merchants. Having faced what may be considered the most challenging times in recent history, I strongly believe that the Merchant Taylors community has adapted tremendously and has actually grown closer as a family in the process. I could not be prouder to help lead the school through this unprecedented year and ensure that small things continue to grow in harmony as they have done in the past. Concordia, Parve, Res Crescents.
we think now that we must apply downward pressure, further downward pressure on that upward curve by closing the schools. So I can announce today, and Gavin Williamson is making a statement now in the House of Commons, that after schools shut their gates from Friday afternoon, they will remain closed for most pupils, for the vast majority of pupils, until further notice.
We conclude prize giving this year in the usual way, by singing the national anthem and the school song. You will be aware that the arts have been particularly badly affected by the events of this year. But as you'll have seen by the musical performances earlier in prize giving, we remain committed at Merchants to pursuing arts education and giving opportunities for participation and excellence to the boys. We're delighted, therefore, that our national anthem this year will be sung by a special guest, mezzo-soprano from the Royal Opera House, Alex Lowe. But before then, we will sing the school song. The words of the song will appear on the screen, and we will be accompanied by boys from the school. So as is customary, please will you stand for the school song and then the national anthem.